The blade struck without warning. One moment, the royal garden of Etherion was filled with soft lights and drifting music. The next, the air tore apart with violence. A shadow moved too fast for alien eyes to track, and steel meant for a child flashed in the glow of bioluminescent trees. A human stepped forward. The first knife buried itself in his shoulder. He did not scream. Princess Elira of Etherion was small for her species, her delicate crests barely formed. She froze, eyes wide, unable to understand why the celebration had turned into chaos. The assassin lunged again, long arms precise, trained for royal kills. The human guard moved again. The second blade hit his side. The third cut across his back. The fourth slipped between ribs. Each strike should have dropped him. Each wound spilled red blood onto white stone. But the human did not fall. He positioned himself fully between the attacker and the child, feet planted, hands empty. He had already lost his weapon. All he had left was his body. "Run!" he shouted, voice raw. The fifth knife pierced his thigh. Still, he stood. The sixth blade came straight for his chest. He twisted just enough that it missed his heart, carving deep into muscle instead. The pain exploded through his nervous system like fire, but he wrapped his arms around the attacker and dragged them down with him. Royal guards finally arrived. Energy weapons flashed. The assassin was neutralized in seconds. Silence followed. The human collapsed. Queen Ashriel felt it before she saw it. She had been across the garden, speaking with diplomats, when something sharp tore through her mind. Not pain as her species understood it, but a violent echo. Her breath caught. Her vision flickered. Then it happened again. And again. 6 times. Her advisors thought she was under attack. Medical attendants rushed to her side. But her eyes were locked on one thing only. The human bleeding on the ground beside her child. "Bring him to the medical bay," she commanded, her voice cutting through panic. "Now." The words carried absolute authority. No one questioned her. Hours later, the palace medical bay glowed with sterile white light. Machines hummed softly around a single recovery pod. Inside it lay the human. His name was Elias Ward. He was unconscious. Wrapped in regeneration mesh. Tubes fed fluids into his veins. 6 wounds. Any one of them could have been fatal to his fragile species. Queen Ashriel stood at the observation window, unmoving. "You have not left," said Kelthren, her chief counselor. His skin shimmered with concern. "The council is waiting. The systems are uneasy." "They can wait," the queen replied. Her chromatic skin pulsed slowly, controlled, but beneath it her neural clusters burned. Every shallow breath the human took sent a faint echo through her body. When his heartbeat faltered for a moment, she staggered. This had never happened before. "He is stable," said the chief healer, lowering her tendrils respectfully. "But what you are experiencing, it defies current understanding." "Explain," the queen said. "We believe," the healer hesitated, "that when the human shielded Princess Elira, extreme neural stress combined with proximity created a resonance. A bridge. His nervous system has entangled with yours." "Entangled," the queen repeated. "Yes." Each wound strengthened the connection. The queen did not speak for a long time. She remembered the moment of the first stab. The shock. The confusion. The strange, distant sense of purpose that was not her own. With every wound, the feeling had grown clearer. Not fear. Resolve. "He knew he would die," she said quietly. "And he stepped forward anyway." "That is the human condition," the healer replied. "They do this." The human stirred. The queen felt it instantly. Consciousness rising. Confusion blooming like static across her thoughts. She entered the room. The door sealed behind her with a soft hiss. Elias's eyes fluttered open. Brown. Unprotected. Searching. He tried to move. Pain slammed into both of them. They gasped at the same time. "That," he muttered weakly, "was not in the contract." Despite herself, the queen felt a flicker of something unfamiliar. Amusement. "You should not speak," she said. Is the kid okay? He asked. My daughter lives, the Queen replied. Because of you. Elias exhaled, relief washing through him so strongly that it flooded into her as well. Her chromatic patterns shifted without permission. He noticed. He said slowly. Are you glowing because of me? Yes, the Queen answered truthfully. That's new. You took 6 wounds, she said. Why? He frowned, as if the question confused him more than the pain. She was behind me, he said. That's the job. No, the Queen said softly. That was not your job. Your job was protection within reason. You exceeded reason. Elias shrugged carefully. Humans do that. Their pain synchronized again as he shifted. So, he said after a moment, am I imagining this, or are you feeling what I feel? You are not imagining it. Well, he said, voice dry despite the agony, guess we're sharing medical bills. Against every rule of royal composure, the Queen laughed. Bright color rippled across her skin. Outside the room, the council watched in stunned silence. Their Queen had not left the side of a human. Not for negotiations. Not for rest. Not for ceremony. Word spread quickly through the palace, then the city, then the system. A human had taken 6 knives for a royal child. And the Queen had chosen him. What no one yet understood was this. The bond between them was not fading. It was growing. And through it, the galaxy was about to learn something terrifying and wonderful about humanity. The connection did not weaken with time. It sharpened. When Elias drifted into sleep, Queen Ashriel felt herself pulled with him, not into dreams, but into fragments. Flickers of memory. Heat. Dust. Fear held tightly behind discipline. She staggered back from the recovery pod, pressing a hand against her chest as images that were not her own flooded her mind. A smaller place. Metal walls. Gravity that pulled harder than Ethrian's gentle fields. A young human, hands shaking as he signed a service contract. A promise spoken aloud, not to a queen, not to a nation, but to himself. Protect those who cannot. She gasped. Your Majesty, Kelthren said urgently, stepping forward. I am fine, she replied, though it was a lie. The healer's tendrils tightened. You are experiencing memory bleed. The bond is deepening faster than predicted. Can it be stopped? Kelthren asked. The healer hesitated. Possibly, she said. But it would almost certainly kill the human. Silence filled the medical bay. Queen Ashriel turned back toward the pod. No, she said. The word carried finality. Elias woke hours later to raised voices. You cannot be serious, someone said. Alien. Sharp-toned. I am entirely serious, came the Queen's calm reply. Elias blinked, vision swimming. The world felt, louder than it should. He could sense tension before he saw it, like pressure in the air. That was new. He focused on the figures arguing near the far wall. Several members of the High Council stood rigid, their chromatic patterns flashing irritation and alarm. This human is a security liability, one of them said. A political weakness. Already the outer systems are whispering. He is a hero, the Queen replied. He is a human, another snapped. Fragile. Emotional. Unpredictable. Elias sighed weakly. You say that like it's a bad thing. Every head turned. The Queen moved instantly to his side. He felt her concern spike before she spoke, felt it like a tightening in his ribs. You should not be listening, she said. Hard not to, Elias replied. Feels like I'm plugged into the room. The healer stared at him. Describe what you are experiencing. Elias considered. Feels like standing too close to a storm. Not painful. Just loud. I can tell when someone's angry. Or scared. The council members recoiled slightly. That confirms it, one said. The bond is spreading into him. Yes, the healer said quietly. The Queen's neural complexity is rewriting parts of his perception. He is adapting. Humans always do, Elias muttered. The Queen looked at him sharply. What do you mean? He shrugged carefully. We're not the strongest, or the fastest, or the smartest, most of the time. So when something new hits us, we change. We survive. The healer's eyes gleamed. Fascinating. Kelthren was not impressed. This changes nothing. The assassin was Christian. This was a targeted act of war. The room went still. The Christian Dominion denies involvement, Kelthren continued. But intelligence suggests otherwise. They wanted the princess dead to destabilize the trade axis. And they failed, the Queen said. For now, Kelthren replied. They will try again. Elias felt a cold clarity settle into him. Then don't make it easy, he said. All eyes turned to him again. You are injured, the counselor snapped. You are not a strategist. No, Elias agreed. But I know humans. And I know this kind of enemy. The Queen studied him, feeling his certainty resonate through her. Speak, she said. They expect you to react like them, Elias said. Meet threat with force. Walls. Guards. Weapons. That's predictable. And your alternative? Kelthren asked. Elias smiled faintly. Let them see me. The council erupted. You are insane. You are bait. You will be assassinated within a cycle. Elias winced as pain flared through his wounds and echoed into the Queen. Yeah, he said through clenched teeth. That's the idea. The Queen raised a hand. Silence fell instantly. You propose to make yourself visible, she said. A symbol. Exactly, Elias replied. They already know I'm human. Already know I'm bonded to you. Hide me, and they'll keep guessing. Show me, and they'll rush. And then, she asked. Elias's eyes hardened. Then we watch who moves. Kelthren's skin flickered with reluctant understanding. You would draw out the conspirators. And expose them, Elias said. Humans are good at that. We've been hunting threats we couldn't overpower for a long time. The Queen felt something shift. Not strategy. Trust. You would risk your life again, she said quietly. Elias met her gaze. Already did. Still here. A long pause followed. Prepare the public address, the Queen said at last. Kelthren stiffened. Your Majesty. I will not hide the truth, she said. The galaxy will see what happened. They will see what a human chose to do. Elias felt pride ripple through her, and to his surprise, through himself as well. The address went out across the system. Footage of the attack. The human stepping forward. 6 blades. 1 child alive. Reactions were immediate. Outrage. Awe. Fear. And something else. Hope. On distant human colonies, people watched in silence. That's one of ours, someone whispered. On Christian-controlled worlds, commanders tightened their plans. The bond between Queen and human pulsed stronger with every transmission. And somewhere in the dark between stars, something ancient took notice. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage bleeding. And they were not stepping back. The first message arrived from a human world called Vesta Prime. It was short, unofficial, and unstoppable. We see him. We stand with him. Within minutes, thousands followed. Queen Ashuriel watched the data streams bloom across the palace holodisplays. Civilian channels. Merchant networks. Independent news relays. Human systems that had never mattered much to the galactic balance were suddenly very loud. Elias felt it too. Not the messages themselves, but the weight of attention. A pressure behind his eyes. A sense of being seen. They're watching, he said quietly. Yes, the Queen replied. They are listening. For the first time in her reign, Ashuriel felt uncertainty that did not come from politics or war. It came from possibility. Humans were not supposed to move the galaxy like this. They were late arrivals. Underpowered. Labeled useful labor and acceptable soldiers, nothing more. No great fleets. No ancient wisdom. No psychic traditions. And yet, one wounded human had shifted the narrative. Elias was released from the recovery pod 2 cycles later. He could barely stand without assistance, but his insistence overruled medical advice. "I heal better moving," he said. "Trust me." The Queen did. They walked the public corridors together. Not side by side, protocol demanded distance, but close enough that the bond hummed steadily between them. Every step Elias took sent pain flickering through her nervous system. She did not flinch. Let the galaxy see. Crowds gathered behind security fields. Alien citizens stared openly. Some recoiled at the sight of exposed human flesh, stitched and scarred. Others leaned closer, curiosity burning brighter than fear. A child shouted, "Why did you do it?" The voice was small, alien, honest. Elias stopped walking. Security tensed. The Queen felt his answer form before he spoke. "Because someone had to," he said. The silence that followed was profound. Later that day, the first threat arrived. Not a fleet. Not a weapon. A message. Christian dominion. Diplomatic channel. The human must be removed from royal proximity. His presence destabilizes interstellar order. Kelthren read it aloud, his chromatic patterns sharp with anger. They do not even deny involvement. They do not need to, Elias said. They think they're still in control. And are they? Kelthren asked. Elias closed his eyes. Through the bond, the Queen felt his mind shift. Calculating. Quiet. Focused. No, Elias said. They are scared. That night, the dreams began. Not Elias's. Hers. Queen Ashriel woke with a start, bioluminescence flaring across her chambers. Her breath came fast, unfamiliar panic crawling through her neural clusters. Stars burning. Cities falling. Human ships, crude and burning, refusing to retreat. She felt Elias before she called for him. He was already awake. I saw it too, he said through the link. You are dreaming my dreams now, she said. Looks like it works both ways, he replied. The healer was alarmed. This is accelerating beyond prediction. Your consciousnesses are partially synchronizing. Is it dangerous? Elias asked. The healer hesitated. To you, yes. To her, unprecedented. Elias didn't need to feel the Queen's reaction. He already knew. I'm not leaving, he said. The Christian move came sooner than expected. A convoy of neutral traders was attacked near the Etherian border. Survivors reported Christian strike signatures masked as pirates. The message was clear. We can hurt you without touching you. The council urged caution. Withdrawal. Compromise. The Queen listened. Then she turned to Elias. What would humans do? She asked. Elias thought of Vesta Prime. Of mining colonies with no defenses. Of families who learned early that waiting politely for mercy got you buried. We wouldn't hit back where they expect, he said. We'd hit where it hurts. And where is that? Kelthren asked. Elias smiled, slow and sharp. Reputation. The plan was dangerous. Almost absurd. Ashriel would authorize a joint investigation task force led not by her military, but by a human advisory group. Independent. Transparent. Broadcast-enabled. They would follow evidence. Publicly. Christian secrets thrived in darkness. Humans thrived in exposure. When the announcement went live, the response was explosive. This violates every protocol, a council member hissed. Exactly, Elias said. Human analysts arrived within days. Not admirals. Not nobles. Programmers. Investigators. Logistics officers. Ordinary people with sharp minds and no patience for lies. The bond allowed Elias to act as a bridge. He translated not just language, but intention. He felt when Ashriel doubted. She felt when he was certain. They uncovered discrepancies fast. Trade routes that didn't add up. Energy signatures reused too often. False flag attacks stitched together with lazy assumptions. Within a week, evidence pointed clearly at the Christian shadow fleet. The galaxy watched it unfold in real time. Christian denials grew louder. Angrier. That's when Elias collapsed. The bond screamed. Pain ripped through the Queen like nothing she had ever known. She fell to her knees as Elias's body convulsed, wounds reopening under stress his biology was never meant to endure. Medical teams rushed in. Neural overload, the healer shouted. He's burning himself out. Stop the investigation, Kelthren pleaded. Disconnect them. The Queen looked at Elias's face. Pale. Determined, even unconscious. No, she said. She reached for him. Something ancient and forbidden awakened inside her. She did what no Etherian monarch had ever done. She shared power. Not authority. Strength. Her neural matrix flared, channeling stabilizing energy across the bond. Elias gasped, body arching as his systems adapted again. The healer stared in disbelief. Integrating it. When Elias opened his eyes, the room was silent. I'm okay, he whispered. You should not be, the healer said. Elias smiled weakly. Humans rarely are. Across the galaxy, something changed. For the first time, aliens understood the truth. Humans did not win by overpowering. They won by enduring long enough to learn. And once they learned, they never stopped. The Christian Dominion realized their mistake too late. Because now, humanity was no longer alone. And the Queen would not let go. The galaxy held its breath. The evidence against the Christian Dominion spread faster than any fleet ever could. Human analysts released every finding openly. No filters, no secrecy, no political softening. Anyone could trace the logic. Anyone could verify the data. That was the most frightening part. Truth, laid bare. Christian ambassadors walked out of assemblies. Their allies went silent. Neutral systems began quietly suspending trade routes. Insurance guilds raised risk classifications overnight. Reputation collapsed. Queen Ashuriel watched it happen from the quiet chamber beside the medical wing, her attention split between the star maps and the human lying in recovery once more. Elias was alive. But the bond had changed again. It no longer felt like a bridge. It felt like a shared current. When he slept, she felt the pull of gravity from his homeworld. When she focused, he sensed the hum of ancient Etherian infrastructure beneath the palace. You're pushing yourself too hard, she said softly. Elias didn't open his eyes. So are you. That made her pause. You feel that? She asked. Yeah, he replied. Pressure. Responsibility. Same thing humans feel when everyone suddenly expects them to have answers. She sat beside him, regal posture forgotten. My people fear what you represent, she admitted. A future they cannot control. Humans don't control the future either, Elias said. We just refuse to stop moving toward it. Outside the palace, demonstrations formed. Not violent ones. Vigils. Aliens of dozens of species stood together in silence, projecting images of the attack. Of the human body taking blade after blade. Of the child who lived. They were not chanting slogans. They were asking questions. Why did one of the weakest species choose sacrifice? Why did their queen stay? And what did that say about the rest of the galaxy? The Christian response came at last. Not with words. With force. A stealth strike bypassed Etherian's outer sensors and emerged near a civilian orbital habitat. No warning. No demands. The message was unmistakable. We can still hurt you. Alarms screamed across the palace. Kelthren turned to the Queen. We must respond militarily. Now. Ashuriel felt Elias's fear spike, not for himself, but for the civilians. Authorize evacuation corridors, Elias said, struggling to sit up. You cannot, Kelthren began. He can, the Queen said. She felt Elias's focus sharpen. Human analysts across the system were already moving, rerouting traffic, hijacking civilian comms with calm, clear instructions. Humans did not panic well. But they coordinated brilliantly under pressure. The Christian strike found empty corridors and shielded compartments instead of helpless targets. Frustrated, they fired anyway. That was their mistake. Every weapon discharge was recorded. Every signature logged. Every violation broadcast live. The Queen authorized defensive fire only after evacuation was complete. Precision. Containment. No pursuit. The galaxy watched a measured response instead of a furious one. Public opinion shifted decisively. Christian allies withdrew support within hours. But victory did not come without cost. The strain of coordinating through the bond hit Elias hard. His body shook violently as neural feedback surged. The Queen felt his systems falter. "Disconnect us," the healer begged. "He cannot sustain this." Ashriel held Elias's hand. She felt his resolve. Not yet, his thoughts echoed into hers. She made a choice that would redefine her reign. She stepped onto the broadcast channel. "This human," she said, her voice steady across every system, stood between violence and a child. Today, he stands between violence and countless others. She lowered herself beside him, ignoring protocol entirely. "I will share the burden." Power flowed again, controlled this time, moderated by ancient safeguards long forbidden to use. Elias's breathing stabilized. The healer collapsed into stunned silence. "He is adapting," she whispered. "Again." When the Christian fleet withdrew, the galaxy did not cheer. It exhaled. In the quiet that followed, something irreversible had happened. Humans were no longer a minor species. They were partners. And Queen Ashriel had bound her fate to theirs. As Elias drifted into exhausted sleep, one final thought crossed his mind, spilling into hers like a spark. "They underestimated us." The Queen closed her eyes. "Yes," she agreed. "And they always will, until it is too late." The war never came. That was what surprised the galaxy most. After centuries of escalation and retaliation, everyone had expected fleets to gather, borders to burn, and entire systems to choose sides. The Christian Dominion had the ships, the weapons, the history, but they did not have time. Because humanity did not give them any. The joint investigation concluded publicly 3 cycles later. Every finding was verified by independent systems. Every accusation backed by evidence so simple that denial became impossible. The Christian leadership fractured. Some demanded war. Others demanded silence. Most demanded escape. Trade partners abandoned them. Neutral systems revoked docking rights. Even longtime allies distanced themselves, unwilling to be seen standing beside a regime exposed so completely. The Dominion did not fall to bombs. It collapsed under light. Elias recovered slowly. Human bodies healed in stubborn, imperfect ways, leaving scars where aliens expected regeneration. The 6 wounds closed, but they never truly disappeared. Thin white lines traced his shoulder, ribs, and chest like a map of the moment that changed everything. Queen Ashriel could feel each one. Not as pain anymore. As memory. "You don't have to stay," Elias said one evening as they stood overlooking the palace city. "You've done more than enough." She turned to him. The bond between them was quieter now. Stable. Integrated. No longer a storm, but a shared rhythm. "I am not staying because I must," she said. "I am staying because I choose to." Below them, the city glowed. Humans walked openly beside Etherian citizens. Children of different species played together without fear. What had begun as a political crisis had reshaped daily life. The council reformed. Not gently. Positions once reserved for ancient bloodlines opened to merit-based representation. Human advisors were granted equal standing, not as symbolic gestures, but as decision-makers. Some protested. Many adapted. Those who refused found themselves irrelevant. The greatest shock came during the convocation of sovereigns, the highest gathering the galaxy had. When Queen Ashuriel rose to speak, the chamber quieted. Strength, she said, has been misunderstood for too long. We believed it was armor, weapons, longevity. She paused. But true strength is choice. To stand when you could flee. To protect when you could preserve yourself. Her gaze swept the chamber. A human taught us this. Not with words. With blood. She turned and gestured. Elias stepped forward. Not in uniform. Not in armor. Just a human. I am not special, he said plainly. What I did wasn't unique. Any human there would have done the same. The chamber stirred. That's the point, he continued. We don't win because we're stronger. We win because we show up. Again and again. Even when it hurts. Silence followed. Then, one by one, sovereigns stood. Not in applause. In acknowledgement. A new compact was signed that day. Mutual defense. Transparent investigation protocols. Shared intelligence networks designed with human systems at their core. Not because humans demanded it. Because the galaxy asked for it. Later, in the quiet of the medical wing where it had all begun, Elias prepared to leave. His assignment was officially complete. You could stay, the Queen said. He smiled gently. Someone else will need standing between danger and a kid. She nodded. She understood that now. Before he boarded the transport, she did something no monarch in Etherian history had ever done. She embraced him. The bond pulsed warmly. Not with pain. With gratitude. As the ship departed, Ashuriel felt the connection settle into something permanent but gentle. A reminder. A truth she would carry for the rest of her reign. Humanity had entered the galaxy bleeding. They stayed by choosing compassion over fear, endurance over dominance, and unity over power. And whenever the stars grew dark again, the galaxy would remember this lesson. Humans do not need to be the strongest. They only need to be willing to stand. And sometimes, that is enough to change everything.